Ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again, or good morning. It depends on the time you receive this video conference from your humble servant, Samouraï Théa. You are once again welcome here on your very beloved platform, the platform for awakening consciousness, the platform I love to host. I have an immeasurable love for this platform because the awakening of consciousness among populations, especially African, is a duty for us and a moral obligation. So, once again, you are welcome. Before continuing, I ask you to share this video conference as much as possible and to watch it until the end. Yes, share it. The African world must remain constantly informed to allow us to firmly establish our personal convictions on our opinions. That is to say, when we are informed, it allows us to form our own opinion. Then we know what we need to say regarding the global situation. That's why I always take the time to be here, despite my numerous responsibilities and commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, there is weeping on the side of the United States of America. There is weeping on the side of France. Both are weeping in the name of Russia. You come this way, it's Russia. You go that way, it's Russia. The Russia of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin himself. Who is this gentleman? What is the reason for the tears in the United States of America? The administrative authorities, the Trump administration, have climbed onto the walls of lamentation. After attempts at pressure, after attempts at intimidation, with Vladimir Putin always calm in his corner, in a samurai-like peace. Now is the time for lamentations. America is lamenting. In this video conference, we will see two major events. Donald Trump's special envoy, the one he trusts much more, with Russia and Ukraine. He is the one on the wailing walls. Because what Putin made him experience, Maranatha, is something else. The second event is French President Emmanuel Macron, who is crying and denouncing something very difficult. Not just difficult, but extremely difficult. It is the pinnacle of what is difficult. It is the intolerable, unforgivable, and ruthless threshold of what is difficult, extremely difficult. This situation in which Vladimir Putin placed him in 2015 and continues to involve him in situations of cyber attacks. So, ladies, gentlemen, dear viewers, dear friends, dear comrades from Africa and the world, in the context of this video conference, this is indeed what we are going to talk about. There you go. But share the video conference as much as possible. What are we going to start with? What interests you the most? Yes, the special envoy of American President Donald Trump, named Steve Witkoff, tried to persuade Putin. He even pleaded with Putin to accept Donald Trump's peace plan. But it never worked. It didn't work. This gentleman you see in the picture with Vladimir Putin, he tried. It didn't work. According to Bloomberg, which cites sources in Moscow. Bloomberg is a Western media outlet. According to Bloomberg, Putin persists in his maximalist demands despite American pressure and the 4 visits by Steve Witkoff. The guy made 4 visits to Putin. They put pressure on Putin. It didn't work. Persuasion, it didn't work. Pleading, it didn't work. But Putin, who are you? On the contrary, every time they persist, continue, insist, every time the Americans are insistent, Putin persists in his maximalist demands, meaning he sets his demands at the highest level. At times he tries to soften, at times he raises them. He always finds a new strategy that is out of the ordinary, and that scares America. One wonders, by the way, who really advises Vladimir Putin, who instills these techniques, these political strategies into Vladimir Putin's thinking. We saw very recently, in fact, it was this morning, when he told America that the questions of Volodymyr Zelensky's legitimacy are not a priority. The priority is the negotiations. He shows his desire to move towards negotiation, but actually, it's just a strategy to open negotiations. And once the negotiations are open, what is he going to do? He will automatically point out a demand there. Is the one inscribed that is not legitimate? We are already in the negotiation. No one will say that. Putin refused the negotiation. He himself said it is a priority. But with whom does he want to negotiate? Legitimate representatives. He did not say that Zelensky is now legitimate. He said what comes first. The priority is to start the negotiations. We start. Now what comes in second position? We can discuss that. Donald Trump's special envoy promised a plan according to which Russia would accept a ceasefire and cease hostilities along the current front line. Immediately after his meeting with Putin, Trump optimistically claimed that an agreement ending the war was very close. However, he later admitted that Putin probably does not wish to stop the war, and that the United States might have to respond with a new sanction against Russia. That's it. Because Putin is, there you go, Donald Trump, he is nervous. Donald Trump saw when Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's special envoy, exchanged with Putin, he reported the information directly to Trump. Trump was very pleased. He came out directly to say a ceasefire agreement was very close. But afterwards, when he saw Vladimir Putin's demands, he said no, he doesn't believe that. That Putin, Russia is ready to move towards peace. And so he decided to threaten Russia with new sanctions because it's the only means he has. Unfortunately, this neither scares nor affects Vladimir Putin, a country that has survived range battery of Western sanctions since 2022. On the contrary, its economy is only growing. What would he be afraid of? As they say in Côte d'Ivoire, in the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, a dead goat is not afraid of a knife. As we say in our country, especially in Cameroon, in Bonaberi, we say, you can't scare a pregnant woman with bananas, plantains. Yeah, those in the know understand what this saying means. So you can't scare Vladimir Putin if he wants to impose new sanctions. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was the international news headline. Thank you for sharing it as widely as possible. I'll be back shortly with more news. This was the voice of your one and only samurai,